The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. While the crowd was pressing in on Jesus and listening to the word of God, he was standing by the lake of Gennesaret. He saw two boats there alongside the lake. The fishermen had disembarked and were washing their nets. Getting into one of the boats, the one belonging to Simon, he asked him to put out a short distance from the shore. Then he sat down and taught the crowds from the boat. After he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, "Put out into deep water and lower your nets for a catch." Simon said in reply, "Master, we have worked hard all night and have caught nothing. But at your command, I will lower the nets." When they had done this, they caught a great number of fish, and their nets were tearing. They signaled to their partners in the other boat to come to help them. They came and filled both boats, so that the boats were in danger of sinking. Simon Peter saw this. He fell at the knees of Jesus and said, "Depart from me, Lord, for I am a sinful man." For astonishment at the catch of fish they had made seized him and all those with him, and likewise James and John, the sons of Zebedee, who were partners to Simon. Jesus said to Simon, "Do not be afraid. From now on, you will be catching men." When they brought their boats to the shore, they left everything and followed him. The Gospel of the Lord. When I was younger, I was always kind of perplexed by this reading. I'm like, okay, Peter's reacting this way for catching fish. I'm like, what's the big deal? I don't know. I don't understand that. What's the big deal about catching a bunch of fish, right? Well, those who are avid fishermen, they might see the bigger deal in that. But when you stop and look at it, there's actually more of a big deal in what is happening here. And so you stop and think about it, just taking a step back. If today a professional fisherman would catch so much fish that the boat is about to sink. Like, imagine if something like that happened. That would be like unheard of, because like that just wouldn't happen. Professional fishermen, even professional fishermen, that just wouldn't happen. Now, Peter's a professional, and he knows, okay, this catch of fish is not at the right time of day. He fished all night. Why? Because that's the time you catch fish. When I was a young teenager, 12, 13 years old, I used to go out to the lake at about 4 a.m., and I used to go out fishing. And then by 6 a.m., I was done because the fish are done. No more biting, right? Now they're using a net. I was using a fishing pole. But still, 6 a.m., you're done. Nothing else. You're not going to get anything much of anything else. And so here you got these guys, and they catch this huge amount of fish, just huge amount of fish. Okay, if you're a professional fisherman, you're not going to have enough fish to sink your one boat. But it says here that both boats were about to sink, and they lost some of those fish because the nets were tearing. So it's an overabundance, a way overabundance. Both boats were about to sink from one net, from one boat of catching fish. So when you think about this is really a miracle. And to Simon Peter, it is a miracle. So you catch enough for both boats to be sunk during the day, not at night. Right? So during the day, the fish are way down. So that's kind of the thing there. The other thing about this is that, okay, he has fished all night, not one fish. Not a single fish. Not one. And he's still willing to throw out the net. After, I don't know, 8 hours at least, then listening to him preach, he's probably tired, he wants to go to bed. It's okay, I'll try it. He's willing to do it. How many of us would be willing to do it? Would it be like, oh, do I really have to? Oh, man. Okay, you know, it's like, how many of us would be like that? No, forget it. I'm going to bed, you know. I want my sleep. I want to do what I want to do. So Peter doesn't do that at all. No complaining or anything like that. Okay, I've caught nothing, but I'm willing to do this. I'm willing to throw the net. And he does. And then if he wasn't willing to do it, the fish wouldn't have been caught. I mean, in order to catch the fish, you got to throw the net overboard. I mean, that's what you have to do. It's impossible to catch fish without throwing the net or putting the pole in the water, right? You got to do it. Are we willing to do what it takes ourselves to catch those fish for God, to catch those men for God? You know, so we have to be willing to do what has to be done. Because if we're not willing to do it, then how can we bear any fruit? Then how can our life be fruitful if we're not willing to do what we need to do? So that's always a challenge to us, to grow in faith, to do what we have to do to grow in faith and come closer to Christ. And that means it's tough. It's tough. It's hard. It means carrying the cross. So Peter is willing to cast out that net, catches all this fish, all this stuff, and you see his reaction. Now it's kind of an interesting words here. It tells a lot about what's going on in Peter. Depart from me, Lord, for I am a sinful man. Now, stop and think about this. Would Peter be saying that to a mere prophet? Nowhere in the Bible does it say those kinds of words to a prophet. See, actually, in the first reading, the guy they're saying, woe is me, for I am a sinful man with unclean lips, living in a land with people with unclean lips. See, he saw God and he saw his majesty. He saw the Lord, and he knew he was in the presence of holiness itself. And he was so afraid. And this is the fear and trembling that Peter has. Depart from me, Lord. He thinks he's going to die because if you're in the presence of God, you will surely die. Depart from me, Lord, for I am a sinful man. And you see Jesus' response, and it's awesome. It's like, yeah, you're right. Go to hell, you know. He doesn't say that. He says, do not be afraid. From now on, you will be catching men. See, God has a plan for Peter, a plan of mercy and of love. God has a plan for him in everything. And as we see, he's willing to take up that cross to fulfill that plan. And we have to remind ourselves, God has a plan for each and every one of us, a plan of mercy and love. Do we believe that? Do we have faith in that? Is it part of our reality in life to follow Jesus Christ, to be catching men for his sake, to glorify his kingdom? Because Simon Peter is catching men because there is somebody very special in God's heart. There's somebody very special in God's heart that he wants to bring his mercy to. Who is that? Who is that person that is in God's heart? That's you. You are in God's heart. Jesus sent the Apostle Peter because he loved you. This is the whole purpose of the church and why he established the church. And so, what's our reaction in that? What's our decision in this love that Jesus has sent for us? Are we going to say yes to that calling to be with him and to receive his mercy and all his graces? Are we going to be indifferent and say, that was nice? If that's the attitude, then you're not going to get much out of it. But when we open our hearts up to a relationship with Jesus, that's when the relationship starts to come alive. Isn't that true with any other relationship that we have? If we open up our hearts to that relationship, it can be a fruitful relationship. If we close our hearts to that relationship is done. We make the decision. Jesus has already opened up his relationship with us and his heart to us. And so are we willing to do what it takes? And it might mean carrying the cross. When Jesus died on the cross, he did not take the cross away from us. Jesus said, if anybody wishes to follow me, must take up his cross and follow me. The cross is necessary for salvation. But rather, when Jesus carried his cross, he did it so that when we carry our cross, he's there with us. You are a holy and sacred temple of God. The crosses you experience, Jesus experiences within you. All that pain and anguish is his experience as well, and it's just as real. And so he wants to be with us in our crosses, but he also wants to shower us overabundantly, like he did in these fish, overabundantly with the graces, so that we can persevere in faith, that we can come to our ends, which is heaven. It's not the boy with the most toy wins. I know so many people who had a lot of money and they were just miserable. I know a woman back in the 70s, she was the vice president of MetLife. She said she could have had everything she wanted. Anything she wanted, she could have had. And she was the most miserable person on the earth. And it wasn't until after, when she gave herself to God, and she actually became destined. She actually, after that, after a while, she actually lost everything. And in losing everything, she was the most happiest woman on earth because she had God. And she discovered his love and his mercy. She discovered God's plan for her. I hope you can discover God's plan for you.